At 8 o'clock tonight, the FIFA 2026 World Cup finals will finally begin. 8 o'clock on RTE for the game between hosts Mexico in the Azteca against former host South Africa. This is the opening match of the tournament. There has been so much built up about, but very little of it to do with actual football. More of it to do with referees being turned around at airports and sent home to Somalia, water bottles being taken off the fans and then being told they could bring water bottles into the stadium, etc., etc., etc. And even on Wednesday, Gianni Infantino told us to chill out and to relax, that there's not everything can be controlled by FIFA at a World Cup, which is quite the statement in itself. Joining us, as always, to talk things football is Kevin Bannon, our resident Irishman on Merseyside with his finger on the pulse on English football, but also in his role as commentator on many of the brightest young players playing in the top leagues across Europe. And for that alone, we're delighted to have asked Kevin to pick us out 5 young players to watch out for at this tournament. The World Cup will always produce a breakthrough, will always be the tournament where you say, that's where I first saw Messi, that's where I first saw Ronaldo, that's where I first saw everybody from Kevin De Bruyne, etc., really stand out on the world stage. So Kevin has picked 5 young players to watch out for this summer. Before we do that, though, Kevin, finally, football is about to take over from all the controversy.
Yeah, it's been a funny, peculiar week or so in the build up to this. These tournament build ups feel like they're getting more controversial every single tournament we come up to, particularly on the global stage. I think some of the issues have been varied from like scandalous to unbelievable to sadly expected in a lot of cases as well. When it comes to some of the host nations, a lot of the time these issues are sort of put to the side once the football begins, for better or worse, I might say as well. I still think it's important that we cover all these issues. You mentioned the visas. So far, the treatment of the Iranian team and officials and whatnot, from the ticket pricing to the train prices, to the water bottles, to everything in between. But rest assured, I am now satisfied now that Gianni Infantino has given his pre-tournament press conference.
You're chilling out, are you? You're relaxing.
Oh, I'm chilled out and relaxed, because Gianni has spoken, and that's all that really matters, particularly in the mind of Gianni Infantino.
Tell us, first up, we're going to look at a young player, the Bundesliga Rookie of the Year. He plays for the Ivory Coast. Your first draft tonight, Kevin.
Yeah, so I was quite excited when you asked me to put this list together. And one of the first names that really came to my head, we've sort of half mentioned him on the podcast before. It's Jan Diamand, who plays with RB Leipzig, 19-year-old winger with the Ivory Coast. Part of a really interesting Ivory Coast team, I think, who have a sort of big physical experience midfield with some real pace and youth in attack. He links really well with Amad Diallo of Manchester United, who's sort of become the main focal point in this Ivory Coast team. But he's a real proper winger, real pace, technical ability, always willing to take on the fullback, run, real direct runner with the ball, high ceiling. And PSG and Liverpool have been mentioned in terms of perhaps signing him after this tournament. Really interesting career path as well. Moved over to the States when he was 14 or 15, played in the sort of high school system there. Failed. Well, I wouldn't say failed, but was on trial with Rangers. Didn't materialize in the sign. Went to Spain with Leganés. Picked up by Leipzig this summer, and he is just like, talk about bursting onto the scene. Leipzig have had a up and down few years. They missed out in Champions League last season. They're back in it now. He was key to it. 3 goals in his 10 caps for the Ivory Coast. If you watched any of AFCON earlier this year, he was really electric. And I would be surprised if Leipzig don't demand a big fee for him, particularly after this World Cup. Now,
that's quite an incredible story, though. From high school football in America to becoming one of the stars of the World Cup in America as well. I mean, incredible.
Yeah, it's brilliant. And like I said, it's it's one of these stories that make this World Cup the greatest sporting competition in the world because of stories like this, and there's so many of them littered across, and that's why we love this tournament so much. In terms of demand, I mean, it's a really tough group, I think. It's a really interesting group. Obviously, you've Germany and Ecuador. A lot of talk about Ecuador, their sort of defensive resilience. Came second behind Argentina in South American qualifying. And then you have Curacao, obviously, mad story with them. 78-year-old Dick Advocat in charge. So I think it'll be good for Diamant. They have Ecuador first, Germany second, and then Curacao last. And two different tests, obviously. That Ecuador side, who basically don't concede goals, how does he find solutions along with Ahmed? Then it's Germany, played against a lot of these players in the Bundesliga, but is it another step up again? And then maybe if Ivory Coast go into that final game against Curacao needing a big result, will we see him just let off the leash to show what quality he brings? I think he's a really exciting player, left winger, can go inside, outside. Like I said, eye for a goal, and yeah, just a properly sort of exciting player who will be at one of the big clubs very, very soon, I reckon.
We will keep an eye out on him. Fascinated by the next pick because your second draft is a very young Croatian, big, physically imposing defender. Football is in the family blood. He is going back, we would suspect, to Spurs ahead of next season. He's currently on loan, but we would suspect he will go back to Spurs. And am I right in thinking he could be marking Harry Kane?
Yes, he most definitely will. It's Luka Vuskovic, Croatian centre back. Again, another 19-year-old. Spurs signed him last year, I think, and then sent him out on loan. Another Bundesliga player, this time with Hamburg. Was brilliant for them. Scored 6 goals from centre back, so a real threat from set pieces. He's one of these big, imposing, take a walk around my centre half type of defenders. And like comfortable getting stuck in the dirty challenges, but also really good at sort of driving a team forward from deep, can carry out from the back. Might need to improve in his distribution, only a young defender obviously, but certainly the fundamentals are there. He made his debut in Croatia at Hajduk Split when he was just 16. His dad, his granddad, and his great-granddad played for the same club, and I believe his brother is also a footballer as I. I'm not too sure. Might need to check that. Very, very good chance of being Spurs' starting centre-back next season. I know they've obviously signed Senesi from Bournemouth, doubts over Romero, Kevin Danso, and Dragosan never looked too comfortable. I think he'll fancy himself really, really well. To make a name for himself when he goes back to Spurs. Really good for Hamburg this season. The Croatian coach, even Zlatko Dalic, has tweaked, usually 4-3-3 man, has tweaked his system to play a back three to get himself and Gvardiol and Dujan Šeletić in the same back line. This is how highly they rate him. Does have a bit of a knock coming in, so you sort of hope he can shake that off. But as you said, Croatia's first game of the tournament is against England. And Kane is, for my money, the best centre-forward in the world at the moment, particularly given his form with Bayern. He's obviously come up against him at club level. And I think he'll relish the chance to sort of show what he's all about against the best centre-forward in the world. That's, of course, if Harry Kane decides to play centre-forward and not play, not think he's Andrea Pirlo. But
that's
I wanted to sort of, we all love attackers, obviously. We all want to see the exciting players, but Vuskovic, I think, has a real bright future in front of him. And yeah, excited to see him.
Spurs fans will be very interested in that. We've seen a lot of talk in Ireland in recent weeks over the England squad and players who didn't make it, who may have dual nationality and may be eligible for us. We're not the only people looking at this, because Morocco, your third pick of the 5, is a former French under-21 international who has just switched to Leeds. Just tell us about him.
Yeah, so my next name on my list is a guy, he plays in Ligue 1 with Lille, Ayoub Bouhaddi. Just 18 years of age, central midfielder. Like you said, played France under-21 for for a few caps, has Moroccan parents. The Moroccan FA were trying to get him to sort of commit for a while. He finally has, so he's won his first 2 caps in friendly games in the build-up to this tournament. He's one of these sort of modern number 6s where it sets the tempo from deep at the base of midfield. Really composed on the ball under pressure. I believe the coaching term is press resistant, but also well able to sort of get about and break up play and read the game and put himself in good positions to turn the ball over. Morocco, I think, are more than dark horses at this tournament. I think they've shaken that tag. I think they're a proper side. I really do. Obviously, we saw the AFCON at home, the whole nonsense behind that. But I think they are a really good side with real quality.
They impressed at the last World Cup. I mean, I enjoyed watching them.
Yeah, first ever African semi-finalist, and that was sort of based on a defensive solidity. Like, again, they didn't really concede goals, and then you had flyers down the wing with Mazraoui and Hakimi. This side is slightly different. They've changed the manager since then. They still have that sort of defensive resilience, but they've sprinkled in a bit of quality with the like of Brahim Diaz, and I'm really excited to see Bouhaddi again. Another really young debutant. He broke the record for Lille's youngest ever appearance maker at 16 when he made his debut. Made his Champions League debut on his 17th birthday against Real Madrid. Loads of the big clubs around Europe have been keeping an eye on him. Arsenal have been mentioned. United have been mentioned. It might be a season too soon, but again, we've seen so many players get moves off the back of big World Cups. And the fact that the Moroccan FA were so keen to get him on board, I think shows his quality. And once more, we talk about setting yourself up for these young players early doors. Morocco's first game, and for my money, the best first group game is against Brazil. I mean, if you can ball out against Brazil, I know it's not maybe the greatest Brazil squad we've ever seen, and Casemiro and Bruno Guimaraes in the middle of the park, but if he can have a big performance in that opening game against Scotland and against Haiti, and like I said, I fancy this Morocco team to get pretty deep, and I think he can provide a bit of the one thing Morocco have been sort of missing is a bit of creativity. Particularly they struggle to sort of break down those defensive teams, kind of like themselves, and I just wonder if he is the missing link. Bouhaddi, big fan of him.
Remind us what that technical term is again for his position.
Press resistant.
Press resistant.
Basically means you can receive the ball under pressure, stay calm, and pick a pass.
Against Brazil.
Hopefully, yeah.
Hopefully against Brazil. We're going to go back to wingers, and this is an interesting one because, again, there's a German connection, and Leverkusen have actually opted to take up the buyback clause and are going to bring this player back to the Bundesliga next season. Tell us about your next player, an 18-year-old winger.
Yeah, so 18-year-old Bosnian winger Kerem Alajbegovic. Bit of a sort of wild card one for me. I had a few names and I was like, let's go real sort of niche here. So Kerem Alajbegovic played with RB Salzburg this year in the Austrian Bundesliga, but as you said, Leverkusen have already activated their buyback clause. He was a Leverkusen player, went to Austria, and he's be playing for Leverkusen next season. 18-year-old winger in that Kvaratskhelia mode where he's big, he's tall, he's sort of rangy, real powerful runner who can sort of bounce off challenges when he's taking on defenders again, whether that's going on the outside or cutting inside. Very difficult to push off the ball, and for such a young player, that's a real physicality is such a gift, really. And in terms of what he brings to Bosnia, there's some sort of wonderings whether he'll start, whether he'll be more of an impact sub. I reckon he will start, just because he started the friendly game the last time out, and he's really key for Bosnia getting up the pitch. They're, again, one of these sides where, I mean, Edin Dzeko, captain at 40 years of age, real sort of old experienced veteran side, but again have a bit of youthful exuberance in it. And he is key to starting those counterattacks, driving this Bosnia side up the pitch when they do win it back against teams. He was key in their qualification as well to this. Scored the winning penalty against Wales in the shootout. So shows he's well up for the big moment, stepping up to delivering that. Set up Dzeko for the goal against Italy that ultimately brought it to a penalty shootout. And like I said, impressed at Salzburg this summer. We'll be back at Leverkusen. And again, it's I feel like because the likes of Kvaratskhelia have come through and everyone's like, that's the winger I want. You feel more and more players are sort of moulding their game off him, and he is one that I'm quite excited about. And Bosnia, in one of the host nations group, obviously opened their campaign against Canada, one of the co-hosts. They have Qatar and Switzerland in that group as well. So a chance for him to really, really impress.
The final member of your famous five, we've talked about him already this season. He's Swiss international, played in the Europa League final and had quite a decent involvement in their run to that final. Tell us about your fifth and final choice in your famous five.
Yeah, so this was the other name, along with Diamand. When you asked me to do this, I was like, he's been one of my sort of favourite players to cover this season on the games I've done. Johan Manzambi of Switzerland, Freiburg midfielder. We've talked about him a few times before, mainly due to me bringing him up. But yeah, midfielder, really sort of technically sound and a brilliant ball carrier. Again, we speak about teams getting up the pitch quickly, and particularly in this World Cup with the conditions, with the heat, I think that will be key. Always looking to get on the ball and sort of start something, always seems to be available. I was covering their Switzerland's last warm-up game against Australia, and particularly first half, I thought was really lively, really active, sort of just picking up little pockets of space. And he's real versatile as well. You can play centrally, you can play either sort of in a number 10 or a more reserved, deeper midfield role. At times against Australia, he was filling in at wing back when Switzerland changed their shape. So real versatile. And in terms of his place in this Swiss team, the midfield two are sort of set. You've Granit Xhaka and Remo Freuler. They've been playing together in those two roles forever, it seems. And he might really benefit from having those two experience. Particularly Xhaka, we know his impact, but obviously Freuler's knocked around the block as well. He'll really benefit from having those in beside him in the middle of the park if he does play centrally. And I think he'll be key for Switzerland. They have some decent attackers. Dan and Doy of Forest, who hasn't really shown it at Forest this season, but scored against Australia, real pacey winger. Noah Okafor, who did show it in the Premier League, so he's quite impressive with Leeds. And their record goal scorer, Breel Mbolo, if he ever makes it to the USA, of course, one of the players delayed in getting his visa.
Well, all he has to do is stay at the airport and chill and relax, and Johnny will be chilled and relaxed.
I'm gonna look for an update because I think the news was that it had been approved.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Oh yeah,
he's in.
Has been granted approval. So there you go. He wasn't on US soil for that game against Australia. I know that for much, but will be here. But in terms of Manzambi, yeah, real sort of bright spark in that Freiburg season. Obviously, fairly soundly beaten in that Europa League final by Villa. We spoke about at the time the sort of gulf in quality. He was the only real one who showed that he could maybe take that next step up to that level. Scored a cracker in the semi-final against Braga to send them on their way as well. So a bit of an eye for goal from midfield. But yeah, him along with Diamand, those two were the immediate two that I thought of. And again, just another one who I think can have a real impact, particularly given that group for Switzerland, I think is relatively straightforward.
Would you be surprised to see him move in the summer after the World Cup?
No, I wouldn't, and I think that's the case for a lot of these. Obviously, Vuskovic and Aleš Begovic are sort of set of where they're going, but I think you're always going to have an eye on these young breakout stars. I mean, the most recent, biggest one I can think of is James Rodriguez. Obviously, he'd been sort of known, had made that move to Monaco, but was so outstanding at the 2014 World Cup. He made that move to Madrid. And will feature at this World Cup, which is also nice. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Again, I think the versatility that he brings is good for a lot of big clubs. Haven't seen exactly who's linked to them, but again, all these clubs keep tabs on all these players, and yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he wasn't in a Freiburg shirt next season.
Okay. We said we'd allow you to have a bench, to have backup players just in case. So you've gone for a bit of cover. You've gone for 24-year-old in your
Yes,
backup,
I
which is
will
a
explain
little
that
bit
one when I get.
controversial, Kevin. We'll leave him till the very end, but 21, 17, 20, 18. So they're all on the same sort of barometer. Tell us about them.
Yeah, so these are just honorable mentions that were very close. First one, Nico Paz at Argentina has been brilliant for Como this season. One of the main reasons under Cesc Fabregas that they had such a brilliant campaign. Is a Real Madrid player. Was only on loan at Como. Still unsure whether he'll go back to Como or will feature for Madrid. I don't think that's been confirmed yet. The reason I have him in honorable mentions is I don't know how much action he will see for Argentina. Maybe more of an impact sub. Hasn't exactly burst onto the scene on an international level. Obviously, it's a very different game, but bags of quality will definitely show it. Second one I have is one of the co-hosts, Gilberto Mora, 17-year-old with Mexico. I think, now you may have to fact check me on this, I think he is the youngest player at this World Cup. 17 years of age. He's still playing in Mexico at the moment. Again, Real Madrid, Barcelona have all been linked. Another one where you do wonder how much game time he'll see from the start, at least. 17 years old. Big hopes for him in Mexico. The Mexican Pedri apparently is the label.
Not bad. Not bad.
Yeah, not bad. It's not, considering Pedri's only 23 as well. He's actually not that much younger. But yeah, so he could play a big role in. Like for Mexico, it's not the strongest Mexican side, but they're at home, so I think they'll definitely show a bit. Second one, I've gone really heavy Bundesliga today. I've just realized, but anyway, it's another Leverkusen player, Ibrahim Mazat. He is Algerian, another sort of creative number 10. Really good season with Leverkusen. Really, really good at AFCON for Algeria, who are an interesting side. Obviously, Mahrez is the big name in that. It's probably his last major tournament for them. But the hope is Mazza can sort of make that step up and
take on that mantle.
Yeah, take the torch. Next one is it's another African side. Ibrahim Mbaye, Senegalese. He is with PSG, and again, really, really good, really pacey. Could be an impact sub. Another side, Senegal, who I think are, again, dark horse, gets thrown around a lot. I just think they're a good, solid team with a lot of quality in a lot of areas, and he is one who could really make an impact. Obviously, with Mane aging a bit, and Jai in that squad as well, Ismail Assar. There's a lot of competition for where he's playing, so therefore you might see him sort of later on. And then my 24-year-old. This is a bit of a rogue shout, and I don't know how much he's a player to watch, but it's Takefusa Kubo for Japan. So he is 24. He plays with Real Sociedad. Has been on the books in Madrid. Again, one of these wonder kids coming out of Japan whose career hasn't exactly taken the linear path. Quality is obviously there. The reason I put him in is because I'm really excited about this Japan side. They're a really well coached team, basically, who are really exciting, play with real energy. Matoma is out. Their big player is out. And I do wonder if he is the one to step up to sort of try to fill that void. Like I said, 24 years of age now, hasn't had the best season with Real Sociedad. And when he was at the Qatar World Cup, obviously, youngster at 20, didn't really make that step up or show his qualities. And it's slightly more in hope, to be honest. But I think he can step up and fill that Matoma void for Japan.
To be fair, Kevin, it's his last chance to be a breakthrough player. I think if he gets the next World Cup at 28, no, ain't going to happen.
Is really pushing it. Yeah, this is why it was a bit of a rogue selection for me, but I think I've just about gotten away with it.
And he's only on the bench.
Yeah,
he's not in the first pick, the first 5 on the draft. Tell us finally, Kevin. as we say, the football is literally about to start, and we're about to actually get something to watch on the field instead of something to talk about off it. Who do you fancy for the tournament? Who's still going to be standing in the middle of July with the cup in their hand? Trophies, or not?
So my natural instinct is to say Spain. The injuries worry me slightly. How fit is Yamal? That's the big question. Fermin Lopez has already had to drop out of the squad through injury. If Yamal is fine, I think Spain will win it, basically. If not, it's very difficult to look beyond that France squad, particularly going forward. I think
the goals the other night against Northern Ireland.
I mean, Elise is just—he's a ridiculous footballer, is Michael Elise, and in a tournament where I think a lot of teams will sit deep and ask you to break them down. Sometimes international football is about you win games by having big players step up and deliver moments of quality, and I think France have more of those players than anyone else. So you probably want the real answer, don't you, rather than say these could.
You're saying Spain,
Spain,
and your second pick is France.
Spain.
Kevin Bannon, as always, good luck, by the way, if it does come home, living in Merseyside, football does come home after 60 years it is now. After 60 years it is now, I think you might want to come home to County Meath for a few days if that happens. But,
100%.
We will wait and see. And look, we look forward to talking to you again next week on the World Cup. And I think it is starting to get exciting, Kevin.
Yeah, we're getting there.
We're getting there. Kevin Bannon, as always, thank you for joining us here on Let's Talk Football. We'll see you next week.